Okay, so this video is going to focus on how to write an equation using function notation and then how to evaluate a function. So when it comes to putting an equation in function notation, so you're going to be given some kind of equation. So what you need to do to put it in proper function notation is you first need to solve the equation for y. So if we're solving the equation for y, so let's look at this left example over here. So if I'm solving for y, that means I need to get rid of everything else. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x on both sides and get rid of that. 2x minus 2x cancels. We drop down the negative 5y is equal to negative 2x plus 4. Then we almost have it solved for y. We need to get rid of the negative 5. That is negative 5 times y. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide everything by negative 5. Negative 5 over negative 5 cancels. And we get y is equal to, well, negative over negative is positive. So here we have 2/5 x. Positive over negative is a negative. And then a 4/5 right there. The only thing left to do, so y is the same thing as f of x, it's just a different kind of notation here. So instead of saying y equals all of that, we're now just going to say f of x equals all of that. So that's all function notation is really about. Take your equation, solve it for y, and then instead of using y, we use an f of x. Now, we're going to evaluate this function here for f of negative 1. What this means, so f of negative 1 means what we're going to do is we're plugging in a negative 1 for x, right? So what we're going to do with this equation over here is we're plugging in this negative 1 for any x value that we have, and we're just going to simplify and evaluate this. All right, so f of negative 1, so we need to simplify over here. So using order of operations, we multiply first. 2/5 times negative 1 is a negative 2/5. Drop down to minus 4/5. Subtract those fractions over there. So we have common denominators. So that means we can just, move our denominator over. Negative 2 minus 4 is a negative 6. So therefore, f of 1 is a negative 6/5. So you can write it like this, f of 1 is a negative 6/5. So solve the equation for y, plug in the value for x, and simplify. So let's try another one. So trying this one over here, so we need to solve the equation for y. So for this one here, we need to subtract x squared on both sides. X squared minus x squared cancels, and we drop down the negative 4y. And that's going to equal, well, negative x squared plus 3. Divide everything by negative 4, and we'll have our equation pretty much here. So let's see, negative divided by negative is positive. Otherwise, there we have a 1/4 x squared. Remember, there's a 1 understood to be in front of that x squared. So that's a a positive 1/4 x squared. Positive over negative is a negative 3/4. So the only thing left to do here to put it in proper function notation is instead of y, we plug in an f of x. So same thing for this equation here. We're going to find f of negative 1. So essentially that just means that we're plugging in a negative 1 for x and simplifying. So that's going to look like, well, let's see, plugging in a negative 1 there. Let's simplify and see what we get. So negative 1 squared, so that's negative 1 times negative 1, which is a positive 1, right? So, and 1 times 1/4 is just 1/4, minus this 3/4 we have over here. So we have common denominators, so 1 minus a 3 is a negative 2/4. And simplifying that fraction over there, 2/4 is the same thing as a 1/2, so a negative 1/2. So f of negative 1 over here is equal to a negative 1/2.